And Ian, you heard Martha talk about those sanctions that President Trump was warning would come. That has come and gone, that deadline. And instead, what we're witnessing, the world witnessing, is a summit between Vladimir Putin and President Trump, and many saying this is likely what Putin wanted all along.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good day for Vladimir Putin. He comes out of isolation, out of the cold, right onto the red carpet that's rolled out from there in Alaska, and he will enter the world stage again, side by side with a US president. He comes with the most experienced team alongside him. You have Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister for more than 20 years, presidential aide Ushakov, the former Russian ambassador to Washington. Putin himself has met 5 US presidents, so they are prepped and they are ready for this, and it's a high-stakes gamble, if you like, for Putin and for Trump. But it's Ukrainian lives on the line, as you said earlier on. Everyone here is watching and waiting. But I have to say, people's hopes are tempered by experience. Talk to any Ukrainian, and they'll remind you that promises were made before. When Ukraine decommissioned its entire nuclear arsenal, the United States, Russia, Great Britain, and others offered guarantees of security should Ukraine be attacked. Well, that proved worthless. When Vladimir Putin attacked in 2014, there was eventually a peace deal, which was broken by Putin. So what the Ukrainians are looking for is, what can President Trump achieve now that has not been achieved in the past? As you say, President Zelensky not there. He's issued comments this evening again saying Russia must end the war it started, the killings must stop, and he, like President Trump, has been reiterating the need for the 3 leaders to meet. I think the lowest expectation that people have here is that there could be a ceasefire on the horizon. That's something that Russia hasn't agreed to before. That would be a victory for President Trump if that happened. I think Putin will want to offer something. Nevertheless, the clock is running really on President Trump, who offered to resolve this conflict within 24 hours. It's not running so strongly on Vladimir Putin, whose forces are advancing on the front lines here, whose drones and missiles bomb Ukrainian cities night after night. The pressure he's feeling is economic, and the possible consequences, as you mentioned, that President Trump threatened if he doesn't agree to something.
Ian, panel with us for our live coverage. Again, the camera trained there on Air Force One. We expect to see the traveling pool, as it's called, members of the press perhaps depart from Air Force One maybe before we actually get a glimpse of President Trump. Of course, on that plane, he has arrived in Anchorage, Alaska. And Ian, you mentioned President Zelensky making comments this evening in Ukraine. Among the comments he's made is addressing the advances by the Russian military in recent days and their continued pounding of Ukraine in just the last 24 hours. In fact, he said something of the sort that people are dying, civilians are being caught in the crossfire in these 24 hours leading right up to this summit. And Zelensky says that speaks louder than words as they begin this summit.
Yeah, I mean, when we've seen those threats before from President Trump, we've seen angry responses to Russian attacks. We've seen deadlines issued by the White House to the Kremlin, and almost immediately the bombs have started to fall. Again, our team here in Ukraine are reporting that on the front lines right now, while we're talking, the fighting is still going on. Russian troops are trying to take more territory. There is no indication whatsoever on the ground that anything has changed. We had an air raid siren just a few minutes ago. That's the 3rd one that we've had here in the capital today, and other parts of Ukraine have come under attack. Russia says, of course, that it hasn't launched any attacks against Ukraine, but we've seen repeatedly, we've witnessed ourselves evidence to the contrary. The evidence on the ground is that Putin thinks he's winning, and that gives him a very strong hand in these negotiations, at least to try and make the case that the territory that they've taken should be counted as Russian territory. Now, President Trump said, yes, territory will be discussed, but it's up to Ukraine to decide exactly what happens. And that's really a sticking point, not just for Ukraine, but also for European allies. Remember, we had that meeting in Berlin earlier this week where a statement was issued saying that the territorial integrity of Ukraine should be honored, that no decisions about Ukrainian land should be taken without Ukraine, and that there should be some kind of security security guarantees. Again, something that President Trump alluded to in the past couple of hours. That's something that Ukraine has been looking for all along. The US being involved in some kind of security backstop. Not necessarily US troops on the ground here, but something that gives them confidence that Vladimir Putin won't invade Ukraine for a third time.